Good morning, Whitford Parish. Good to see you online. For those of you who will be coming across very shortly, happy Father's Day to all the fathers in our midst. As Stephanie said, despite the lockdown, hopefully you'll be able to have a wonderful morning and wonderful afternoon and evening and wonderful day. Despite all not being able to go anywhere this morning. Hopefully some of you at least got a card or some chocolates or something, maybe another little treat. Good morning. Good to see some people coming across. I'm going to begin by reading Matthew chapter 10, and we're going to go from verse 24, just while people come across and join. So Matthew 10 from verse 24. A disciple is not above the teacher, nor a slave above the master. It is enough for the disciple to be like the teacher, and the slave like the master, if they have called the master of the house Beelzebul. How much more will they malign those of this household? So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered up that will be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground unperceived by your Father. And even the hairs of your head are all counted. So do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before others, I will also deny before my Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And one's foes will be members of one's own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Those who find their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. Verse 39 again. Those who find their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. Well, good morning to all those who are coming across. Once again, happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there. Hope you're having a good one so far, and hope you will have a good rest of the day. Just a few quick thoughts from me for this morning, this Father's Day. And I think there will be a lot of people in our church who know what the deal is with having children. My main experience is through watching others have kids and being an observer on the side. And I've just noted a few things. It all starts with that exciting announcement that the baby is on the way. And before you know it, there's an artistically created picture on social media, usually featuring that scan picture and a baby grow, perhaps an expected arrival date made from those alphabet blocks that we give to our young kids. And then as the day comes nearer, there's all the excitement. The baby showers start these days, maternity leave comes around, and the husband goes to work checking his phone every 30 seconds just in case something's happened. All the excitement. And then the baby arrives. And the realization of how life has changed hits both parents square in the face. A lot of my friends, they go from people full of energy, full of life, to zombie-like creatures who drink unnatural amounts of caffeine just to get through the day. The baby becomes all demanding and all-encompassing. And they think, do you know what? It'll be better when they've grown up a bit, when they become a toddler, when they start sleeping a bit more. And then the baby becomes that toddler. And then nothing changes because the toddler has tantrums. And then the toddler starts outwitting my tired friends, the parents, as they go through these tantrums. And then they think, Do you know what? It'll be better when they get to school. And then school comes around. And at that moment, they start costing more money as they outgrow uniforms faster and faster, seemingly by the hour. They begin to eat everything in house and home, and they make that transition into young adults. And then the parents think, great, it'll be better now that they're young adults. And you know what? Instead of being tired because they're not sleeping at night, they're tired because the parents are having to wait up at night for the kids to come home. And they think, do you know what? They'll go back to they'll go to university. It'll be, that time will come around, and then they go to university, and you start to worry about them when they're not there. And then when they come back, they only return with a massive pile of clothes that need washing. And then they may fall in love, they move out, they get married, and at that point the parents think, at last, we're going to have our lives back. We're going to be able to do all those things, go on those dates, go on that cruise we always wanted to go on. But no, because a little while later, your children start having children of their own, and before you know it, as grandparents, you become the auxiliary babysitting service that's conveniently available at all hours. You see, the point is with children is that when you have children, in many ways you lose your life. You lose a lot that you had before. And yet most parents perceive that this is a good thing because they realize that the prize of this is actually finding something. It's actually finding a part of their life in many ways. It's the prize of watching their children grow. The way I've just painted the story, it sounds horrendous because their parents lose their life, but yet they somehow find it because watching their kids grow is somehow worth it all. It's worth every second of it, and there's so much joy. There's so much more than what I just said. There's love, and there's that sense of knowing that there's someone else in your life. And as we celebrate Father's Day today, there will be many dads out there who know firsthand the death of some of their immediate dreams and their bank balance, but also the joy of hugging their smiling child as they run towards them, or as they celebrate the achievement of their children at school. Being a parent requires a selflessness, a sacrificial way of living for the betterment of others around us. And as we look at the passage in Matthew's Gospel this morning, it's actually this way of living that in many ways Jesus is asking of his own followers. You see, to follow Christ is to learn not to follow for our own sake. It's not to live for ourselves and for what we perceive would be a good thing to do in the world or in our communities, but it's to be able to see God's purposes. Sometimes to go beyond our immediate dreams, our immediate purposes. If we follow our own immediate dreams and our own immediate purposes, that sometimes gets us into trouble. And actually, the reading from Genesis, I'm just going to touch on it very gently this morning, but actually that whole scene is actually quite a distressing situation, I think, for many reasons in the life of Abraham. He's distressed greatly at having to lose his own son. But the thing is, Abraham, if you think back through the story, they tried to control their own life. They tried to take God's purposes for their own. They tried to do it all in their own time. Abraham had tried to find his life, but in some ways in this moment, he lost it. And we know the graciousness of God in this situation, and it's actually God that takes over the life of the child and the woman that is lost to Abraham in that moment. There is grace from God in this second, but it's God that's having to sort out that mess. It would have been much better for Abraham and Sarah in the first instance just to trust God, trust his purposes, to take up their cross and wait. But giving up control to God, it isn't always easy. It's certainly not comfortable. But however, I believe strongly with all my heart that being able to give up control to God always leads to life. Being sacrificial leads to life. Now, I don't think when I was younger, when I was thinking, when I was sat in front of the careers advisor saying, what do you want to do with your future life? I don't think being ordained was the thing that first struck me in my head. Certainly in my early 20s, I was trying to find ways of incorporating my passions into some sort of future career, whether that was with music, maybe with food, there's lots of things I was passionate about, and being ordained was just not on my list for any reason. And it started as some silly little thought, but as time went on, I realised that actually, in many ways, I was going to have to lose some aspects of my life to pursue what God was calling me to. And it meant giving up actually quite a reasonable income. It meant giving up actually pursuing some of the things that I thought I enjoyed about my life. I had to be quite sacrificial in going forward. Uh, and in many ways, I tried for so many years to not go down this path. I thought, you know what, no, this is just a silly, silly thought. And actually, the further I went away from God's purposes, the further I tried to take control for myself, the more I realized I was actually becoming unhappy in life. And when you think about it in an earthly sense, I should have been really happy. Things were going well. I had that income. I was living in a house. Things were comfortable. But I always felt that something was missing. I was losing my life. Maybe not physically, but certainly spiritually. Something was missing. Something was being lost. And I realised that nagging in my heart that surrounded going forward would not go away unless I did something, unless I realised that I had to lose my life in order to find it. I lost a steady income. I lost my home church. I had to leave close friends and family. All of that was on the line. It was a risk. But now that I am doing what I am doing, and that I've moved forward into that, and I've decided to take up my cross and follow God, I know that I have begun to re-find my life. I know that I'm back on track. But it has meant those sacrifices. It's meant that I've had to enter into the paradox of Christ's statement at the end of this morning's passage. It's meant that I've had to learn for myself that concept of not fearing, of trusting God. It's meant that I've had to learn that my worth is more than those 2 sparrows that Jesus talks about. And that ultimately my worth is not about what I can perceive in an earthly sense. It's not about having things perfect from my earthly point of view. But actually it's about what God says. It's about what my Father in heaven perceives of me. And we have that Father in heaven. And we know that actually, if we're all to grow to be like Jesus, if we're going to go on that journey to become disciples of his, we have to learn the art of sacrificial giving and know that the God who gave himself for us is the God who calls us to give ourselves for him. Not necessarily firstly for others, but firstly to be sacrificial to him. If we're sacrificial to him, we begin to live in a way that encompasses others and begins to be the true community that God is asking us to be. And I'd encourage you this Father's Day to think about your Father in heaven, to live with his priorities, and know that actually if he is asking you to sacrifice something for his sake, then ultimately it's going to be worth it. We are called as his children to grow more into his likeness. He was self-giving towards us as his children, and all he asks in return is for us to follow him for the sake of himself and for the sake of his others. So this week my challenge to all of you is to begin to think about how we can grow more into his likeness, into the likeness of Christ, and into the likeness of the Father who gave himself for us. Sacrificial living, it's worth every second. Amen. Well, once again, happy Father's Day to you, all those fathers out there. Hopefully, pray you'll be having a blessed day. That's all from me. Do stick around. You've got a few minutes to go off and make a drink, and then Jess is going to be here at 11:30 with her all age segment, and then. Following on from that, if you can join us this morning, it'd be great to see you in the Zoom chat. I think the details are on the Church Talk email. Hopefully we'll see some of you across there. God be with you this day. Be blessed, and we'll see you very soon. Bye for now.